Welcome back to another Trailmakers tutorial video. Today we're going to be going over Bionic engines and how to build them. Specifically rotary Bionic engines like this one. They use 0 power cores, yet can go incredibly fast nonetheless. They don't use any glitches, and this one is currently holding first place in the Grand Prix on Race Island, on the PlayStation version at least. I'm not sure what the time on PC is. But before we get to building, there are a couple simple things I'm going to point out about it for any beginners. We've got the rotating servos here, providing our main power. We've got a central drive shaft that everything's connected up to. We have more servos to angle our fins. And then of course we've got the fins themselves, which we can experiment pretty greatly with. There's a lot of different options for a lot of different effects on these. But anyways, let's get into building. Oh, and also I'll point out a couple more tips and tricks as to why this vehicle looks a little weird and uses some interesting parts. But let's get going. So we're going to start by grabbing the most important part, the rotating servo. And we're going to stack 5 of them on top of each other, lengthwise this way. Then for speed and simplicity, we're going to use a 6x2 block. It's not the most weight efficient, but it'll help us build faster. Then when we copy the next rotating servo over, make sure to rotate it so it's facing the same direction. And we're going to add 5 servos on this end as well. Next we'll add the angling servos on. Oh, I meant to copy that first. So we'll make sure to add these on the back end of the drive shaft. And then on the rest of the drive shaft, we're going to put our aerodynamic pieces, and the most aerodynamic pieces available to us are these quarter cone 1x1x4s. So we're going to use 2 of them in front of each, making little half cones. And next we can go ahead and select this entire module, copy it, and we're going to move it 12 blocks over. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And that'll give us plenty of space to work with for whatever fins we want to put on here. Well, maybe not whatever fins we want to put on here, but whatever we're going to use for the tutorial anyways. Next, we'll need some places to mount things, so we'll grab some 2x2x2s, some basic blocks, and put them on the front and end of each engine. And here's where the first interesting piece I'm going to grab is going to come in. We're going to go to the Decorations tab, and scroll quite a bit down, and we're going to grab the chrome bumper. A little odd, you might think, but I'll show you why we're using this for the cross beams in just a moment. We just gotta turn on aerodynamics. Now you can see our basic block has red arrows for very bad aerodynamics. Our cones have these fast green arrows for their very good aerodynamics. But these chrome bumpers don't have anything. And that's because, like most decoration pieces, they don't have any drag applied to them whatsoever, just naturally. So without using the 0 drag glitch, we can do 0 drag cross beams and some other parts that we'll be able to do. And it helps also that it's a fairly light block, so it's good on the weight saving as well. Let's turn these arrows back off. And we'll copy one of these cross beams up to the front as well. We'll delete the middle so that we have a place to put our seat. And before we get too ahead of ourselves with building, actually, no, I'll leave the programming until a little bit later so that we can see it spin properly. That way we'll be able to tell if it's going in the right direction or not. So let's continue building out the car a little bit more. We'll fix the aerodynamics on the front here by making some nice cones out of our 4x4s, or 1x1x4s, I mean. We'll grab one and put it on the front of the seat here. Then raise that half up and grab some regular 4x1 wedges and put it in the middle. And that'll block all the bad aerodynamics from our go-kart seat, which is one of the lightest seats we can use. And it's not important for this application because through the air we don't need to worry about the drag on the back, but if we're going to make a boat or a submarine, you want to make sure that your rear aerodynamics are also very good, because in the water that matters too. But in the air it doesn't, so this is mostly just for completing the look of the engine. Next, we'll extend out our cross beams so that our fins will have room on this side as well before we drop the cross beams down for our wheel mountings. A lot of chrome bumpers. We'll do 1, 2. And the other side 2. 1, 2. So I went 3 chrome bumpers out, and then 3 chrome bumpers down from there. And actually, no, that'll be fine. And next we'll grab some more 2x2s here. Again, not the best for weight saving. You'd want to be using the grid blocks for this if you were really shaving every ounce of the weight off of here, but it's a little simpler to build with these. I'll go ahead and put some over here too. Put them out one more. Then we'll go to our streamlining tab and go all the way to the bottom and grab a rear wing, but we're not going to place it in a normal spoiler position. We're going to be using it mainly for body filler because we need to bring these all the way back, but we don't want to use too much weight, so this is going to save us a lot of weight. A 6x2 block weighs 3.8 kilograms, but a rear wing weighs only 0.2 kilograms, and it takes up the same amount of space, and it has all the connection points we need for this particular spot, so we might as well use them. Then we can go ahead and copy those over. I didn't mean to catch that too. And we'll bring this over to the other side. And now obviously our vehicle's a little bit wider than it is long right now, which isn't good. So we'll extend out the front by, let's say 3, and the back by 2. That's not too bad. And we'll put some more blocks in the back for our connection points, and in the front too, I suppose. We'll need them there in a moment. We'll just slap some wheels in the back real quick. We're going to use the racing wheels, of course. They don't have the best drag, but if we want to, we can cover them up with 4x1s and 4x1 cones to reduce the drag pretty significantly, but we'll worry about that later. Next, we're going to need some steering, and for cars to go really fast, I like to use servo steering, and I'm not sure we'll necessarily need it on this model, but we're going to put it on there anyways. Some 2x2 blocks, and we're going to need to go into the configurator and reverse the controls for the servo in order to make it turn correctly. And we might as well bring the speed up to 2. We'll leave the angle at 45. Then we'll need something to mount the tire on. So let's grab a flat connector and put it on the bottom there. Grab a tube elbow on the side. And put a racing wheel on there. Then we'll grab a 1x2 here to start blocking the aerodynamics, because tube elbows have very bad aerodynamics on their side. So this is just going to fill in the gap before we put in some spoilers in the front. But before we do that, because this is probably not going to mirror correctly. No, it didn't mirror. So before we make it too complex, let's bring it over to the other side. I forgot I had a block there already. So that slides over, that slides over, that slides over and spins, that slides over. Okay, then we'll go ahead and grab some regular size spoilers, put them in front of there, and grab some more flat connector 1x2s and attach them on the side. And we're using the flat connectors a bunch because they also don't have any, well, they don't have aerodynamics on their sides from this view of them, the flat view. From this view I think they still do, but we're not using them in that orientation, so it doesn't really matter right now. Make sure we put these on the other side as well. And we gotta slide things over, spin these around, and that takes care of the bad aerodynamics up here, as well as giving us a little bit of downforce, which we should probably have some downforce in the back as well. I'm pretty sure we will be getting a bunch of downforce out of these rear wings, but a vehicle like this can really use all the downforce you can throw at it without putting too much drag on it. So just a bunch of them across the back, these rear wings. Probably going to be too much, but better than not enough. And now we can finally get to finish off the engine. Sorry for putting that off so long, but kind of got ahead of myself there. So for our very first iteration, we're going to use just simple tail fins, and we're going to put 2 on each servo, like so. Then once we put these on, we'll get to the all-important programming of the servos, because right now they're not going to do much for us. So for starters, we'll go ahead and select all of our drive motors, or our drive servos I should call them. So you don't have to do them all at once, but definitely easier if you know how to select them, which is just R3 of course. We're going to go ahead and start by putting all of their controls at R2, but we are going to switch some of them in a minute. And we're going to put L2 on the other controls in the red. We'll bring their speed up to 2, their angle all the way up to infinity, and click hold position on. Now we'll unselect them all, and we're going to select just the front left and the back right. And we're going to flip their controls. So we're going to make L2 in the green and R2 in the red. And next we'll do the angling servos. So we'll go ahead and select all of our angling servos. Go into the configurator. We're going to clear both their inputs. And we're going to bring their speed down to, or not their speed, their angle down to, let's say, 18 to start with. And we can click hold position on if we want, but it's not going to really be necessary because we're going to use an OR gate, or not an OR gate, a NOR gate. Sorry, I just misspoke there. An NOR gate, and connect that to all of our angling servos. So that'll turn them on from the beginning. And one more thing we need to do is on one of these sets of angling servos, I'm pretty sure it's the left one, we're going to want to select the 4 angling servos and switch their speed to the negative. So if you've got the speed at 1 before, just put it at -1 now, and leave the ones on the right at 1, so that these will angle in opposite directions because they have to be mirrored from each other. And now we're ready for a test. And it looks like we built everything correctly. Now it's obviously not as fast as that super polished race model that I showed you earlier. And we're not turning very well. That's probably because of our drag. If we go ahead and, or not drag, our downforce. If we reduce the amount of downforce we have in the back, our front tires should have some more grip. It didn't improve it too much. We'll mess with that in a second. Steering is not necessarily important. It could be a drag car. But next, I want to show you how to experiment with the fins a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete the fins on the left side of the servo on each of these. So it's going to have rotational symmetry. Nope, did the wrong one there. No, I did the wrong one here. Did the right one there. Yeah, so the left side of each servo is empty now. Then on this side, we'll get rid of the one on the right side of each servo, so it's mirrored. And let's just take a step back and look at that, and okay, yep, I did that correctly. Then we'll go back to our flight tab, and we're going to grab some big elevator fins. And we're just going to slap those in place of our simple tail fins. And the same thing on the other side. Then select all the big elevator fins, clear their inputs, and we don't have to worry about anything else because we're not going to be activating them at all. And now, we're going like 80 miles an hour faster. So experimenting with your blades is really important for getting the most out of your engines. You can obviously make smaller ones if you want a more compact vehicle or something like that, but bigger is usually better so long as it's light. But I'll leave you to experiment with everything from ailerons, modular wings, helicopter blades even. Pretty much anything that'll produce drag can be used for these servos. You can even use basic blocks if you want, but they kind of suck from my experience. But anyways, what should I say next? Oh, the steering. The steering on this was a little lackluster, so what we're going to do is give it some aerodynamic turning as well. Because that's a little trick that I used on my race car for the really tight, fast turns. So we're going to put some rotating servos. Yes, we're using quite a lot of them on this build. We're going to put 2 on the front like so. Go to our flight tab and grab some small tail fins and put them on top of the servos. Then, as we mentioned before, the sides of these rotating servos have pretty bad aerodynamics, so we're going to grab some quarter cones and put them in front. Then we'll select the servos and bring their speed up to 2. And we don't need to change their controls right now. But we are going to select them, if we can here. Select everything we just put down. The servos, the cones, and the simple tail fins. If you can't copy them, that's also fine. We're just going to slap them on the back, and in the back we have to go into the configurator and reverse their controls. So now we have some aerodynamic steering as well. So now we can do extremely tight turns at the cost of a bit of speed, but it makes the vehicle much more maneuverable. And I believe at some point or another in this video I've mentioned instability, especially when having more rotating servos than 5. So I want to try to show you that real quick. What we're going to do is expand our engine to be a 6-stack instead of a 5-stack. So we'll select our little end pieces here, move them back by 1, copy an extra rotating servo on this end, and we'll do our best to do the same thing on the front end. We'll select our seat and those bumpers and cross beams, and copy 1 servo over from each. And if you copy them while they're still connected, like we just did, it'll have all the same programmings in, so it should be fine. If not, just double check it. But now, oof. I was about to say we're much faster, but before we even got to top speed, the engine breakdown kicked in, and we exploded. So, me and my friends like to call this Bionic engine breakdown, and it's caused by instability in the engines, in terms of vibration, wiggling, things like that. Now I'm pretty sure if we get rid of these simple tail, or not simple tail fins, the big elevator fins, and go back to just simple tail fins, being that these don't have any articulation built into them, I'm pretty sure they're a much stabler part. And if all of my past building serves me well, this one shouldn't explode as bad. Oh, no. So that means there's probably something wrong with the car as well. And for starters, I'm gonna connect our frame up in the front and the back. So I just connected it with... Actually, the heck with it. I'll just... They're nicely spaced for this. I'm just gonna use some more spoilers in the front. It could use with the downforce anyways. Okay, we got a little bit better, but you're seeing what's happening. Okay, especially with that one on the side there. I can't slow down to show you. Okay, there we go. You see how as it starts to spin up, it wobbles more and more? That's because the engine itself is doing that in the first place. So... some factors that might be causing this are imbalance. We can move our simple tail fins up a little bit to try to solve that. See if that makes a difference. It does not. And you're starting to see how long it may take to tune one of these vehicles to go over 500 miles an hour without exploding instantly. It took me a long time and a lot of versions to get that other one built the way it is. It's not... It might have looked like a random assortment of toothpicks, but I assure you it's not. So... I suppose... what else could we do in this tutorial real quick to try to fix this? I don't want to drag this out too much, because like I just said, it can take a while. Alright, one more thing that I'm going to try to solve on here before I might call this tutorial finished is I'm just going to add some bracing up here, again using our chrome bumpers because they have no drag whatsoever. They also have no health whatsoever, so when you crash into a wall at 500 miles an hour, the entire thing evaporates, which is kind of funny. Okay, we held together a little bit better, but really not much. One other thing. Let's go to our history. Go back to the last version that had... Yep, the last version still had the simple tail, or the big elevator fins on. Then we're going to take the big elevator fins off, but we're also not going to add in new simple tail fins. No? Okay. So... the car is simply not accepting the 6-stack engine, which is a little annoying, because I wanted it to at least work a little bit for our tutorial. Just try extending the car out, because sometimes that's helped in the past. Not this time. Let's double up our simple tail fins again. Goodness. Zooming all over the place. I'm gonna move them up one notch, so they're mounted in the middle as they can be, I suppose. They're 5 blocks long, so there's not really a good way to mount them on a 2-block wide thing evenly, but... for a second there, I thought it was going to be better, but it's not. Oh, that was interesting. Anyways, I could muck about with this all day, but I think I'm going to leave that up to you guys. If you want to build something fast enough to challenge my race scores, you're going to have to work for it. I guess I'm not going to be able to show you an exact blueprint. Well, I can show you the exact blueprint again. So, let me pull it up. The Mark 45. I suppose you could try to copy it by looking real closely at it or pausing the video or things like that, but it is a 6-stack. and the fins are pretty obvious, using the double up big elevator fins. And the only real difference in building style between this and the demonstration version we were doing is I used grid blocks instead of regular blocks. They're just a little more tedious to place out, and I saved myself like 30 seconds doing that. But anyways, if I drive this around a little bit, it should eventually take a tick or two of damage. It's actually holding up pretty well right now. Now this will run the Grand Prix in less than 40 seconds. Well, just a whisker less than 40 seconds, but still less. So it only has to survive less than a minute. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I seem to have gotten really lucky on the weld here, because nothing's colliding or vibrating in a weird way to cause the Bionic engine breakdown that I wanted to show you. Because I promised this build still breaks down a little bit. And again, you could copy it block for block if you really wanted to pause the video and analyze everything, but the basics that you could copy are already there. Pretty easy to see. It's got the doubled up big elevator fins, which provides you more force, but also quite a bit more instability. And that's about it. Covered up the small tail fins for the aerodynamics, covered up the wheels for aerodynamics, tucked the wheels in the back here, but other than that, it's very, very similar to what we built for our demo. Because, well, after 45 generations of building these things, I've kind of gotten the style locked in. But I think that's enough rambling, and enough testing, and poking around. I'm going to call the video here. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And if you want to support the channel, or just make me happy, leave a like and subscribe. Bye-bye now.
PlayStation